use better judgment in, not having things escalate into this tragic, tragic situation.
It sounds like you're blaming him for his own death again.
You just heard it. A man is dead, and the first instinct is not accountability, not restraint, not regret. It's judgment. This interview exposes something far bigger than one shooting. It shows how power reacts when its actions become indefensible. Because when officials can't justify what happened, they don't explain it, they reframe it. And once that reframing begins, the truth is no longer the priority.
Joining me now is Jennifer Ewing, who is a spokesperson for Republicans Overseas UK. Jennifer, in less than 3 weeks, 2 Americans have been killed by ICE agents. Both were blamed by members of your party for their own deaths. Can you give me your reaction to that, firstly?
Yeah, I mean, I think what has been the problem, quite frankly, and the numbers show it, is that the local and state authorities have not been working with the ICE agents. And when that happens, unfortunately, things like we saw with Mr. Preddy's death a few days ago, which of course is tragic, is that there aren't proper parameters and safety measures put in for people who have the right to peacefully protest. And instead, what happens is the ICE agents who are trying to obtain and basically arrest illegal criminals are clashing with the protest. And then because so many people are armed in America, it escalates from there. Again, it was a tragedy.
Notice the dodge. 2 Americans are dead, yet the blame instantly moves elsewhere. Not the agents, not the policy, the state.
And I think that the good news is overnight you will have seen that the governor, Tim Walz, and President Trump have had a discussion. So hopefully the state and local authorities will cooperate with the federal agents, which has happened in almost every other county in America. That's why Minnesota, which has not done that, has had so many problems.
This isn't analysis. This is pressure. Cooperate or chaos follows. That's the message.
Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino is said to have been relieved of his role in Minnesota, and Kristi Noem has been sidelined too by the looks of it. This is a major concession from President Trump, isn't it?
If we're trying to put points on the board, you can say it's a concession for Trump, or you could say, it's a concession that Tim Walz finally is allowing, ICE to do their job. However, what I would say is I do not think DHS Secretary Noem's comments immediately after the killing of Alex Pretty were very helpful. She spoke too soon, and to call somebody a domestic terrorist, we didn't know that at the time. We still don't know that. If that comes out to be the case, fine. She spoke too soon. With regards to Greg Bovino, I think this was somewhat strategic. I think they're sending him back to California, which is where he's from. Perhaps there's just too much bad blood between the people of Minneapolis and Mr. Bovino. You'll see that Tom Homan, who is the head of ICE, is stepping in. Hopefully this will be a fresh start. And again, we can do what the people voted for, which is to get illegal criminals, killers, murderers, pedophiles, out of Minneapolis.
Listen carefully. She admits officials spoke too soon, but treats it as a PR error, not a moral one. This is the escape route. When the victim doesn't fit the story, you invent a different one.
President Trump's supposed motivation for this is to make Americans safer. Would you say America is safer today than it was a few weeks ago?
Well, it's not what I would say, it's what's true. We have the lowest level of killings in America since the 1900s. So, the fact that President Trump and his team have deported 600,000 illegal aliens, in addition, which is even better, is 1.8 million people who are here illegally self-deported. And when you self-deport, you have an opportunity to come back into the country legally. So again, not what I say, it absolutely is a safer place.
Do you think the people in Minnesota feel safer?
Well, there's been a lot of very high emotions, in Minnesota, and a lot of this has been done by agitators, quite frankly, who are paid to stir up the situation. So I'm sure the locals do not feel safe from having people who have political agendas or don't like the president of the United States.
I think they probably feel unsafe because 2 protesters have been shot on the streets.
Safer, according to statistics. Not according to the people watching neighbors die. That gap matters.
Well, I mean, if anybody is looking into these stories, they will see that both of these deaths could have been prevented. It is not like ICE is just randomly going around shooting people. Remember that Alex Preddy, though he didn't deserve to die for it, and he has the right to Second Amendment, he did not tell the agents when they were restraining him that he had a firearm, and it escalated from there.
It's quite something that this event has managed to unite both the NRA, the National Rifle Association, and people on the left. Isn't it a fact that on this gun point that what the administration is saying is wrong? He had, the right to have the gun, as you say, and perhaps in that moment that wasn't the first thing on his mind.
Here's where it collapses. Rights are acknowledged, then quietly withdrawn, the moment they become inconvenient.
Well, of course you have the right to have a gun, but anybody who owns a gun, there's different state laws. You need to register your gun. You need to carry ID and your permit, which my understanding is he was not carrying either one. But that aside, it's also just common sense. If you're being restrained by the police, you should disclose, well, you need to disclose legally that you are holding a weapon. It's the same thing, with any other situation. These people are law enforcement officers, and you might not like the policy, but Americans overwhelmingly voted for this policy, and now it's been enacted. So if you're going to a peaceful protest, just use better judgment in, not having things escalate into this tragic situation.
It sounds like you're blaming him for his own death again.
If exercising a right gets you killed, that right doesn't exist. It's permission, and it can be revoked.
I would never blame him for his own death again, but I do believe that death could have been prevented.
A recent poll suggests that over 60% of people think ICE are going too far. What does this mean for President Trump's immigration plans?
Yeah, I've seen that poll too, and it's quite frankly, it's not a surprise to me. If you watch just the average channel media, they make it seem just, kind of like was alluded to earlier, that random people are being shot on the streets of Minneapolis when that's simply not true. So of course people don't like the way this is playing out, and that's why they're going to change the way this is happening. And again, I say that this is the places where this is happening are where the two state and federal sides are not working together. And you also have to keep in mind, CNN, who's hardly a big cheerleader for Trump, basically took together polls. New York Times, Marquette, I think it was ABC and NBC. Between 55% and 67% of Americans agree with the statement that illegal immigrants should be deported. So, again, he's got a mandate to do this.
Jennifer Ewing, thank you very much for joining us.
When public opinion turns, reflection disappears. The script stays the same. This wasn't just an interview. It was a pattern playing out in real time. You saw the pivots. You heard the qualifiers. You felt the hesitation before responsibility was pushed elsewhere. This is how trust erodes. Not in one dramatic moment, but through repetition. Every time a death is explained away. Every time blame is reassigned. Every time accountability becomes optional. You're told the country is safer while watching people get shot. You're told it's justified while logic breaks down. You're told to accept it because this is what you voted for. But authority without accountability isn't strength. It's fear. Fear of scrutiny. Fear of consequences. Fear of the truth. This is why trust is gone. Because when power is tested, honesty fails the test. So ask yourself, is this incompetence or cowardice? And would you trust people like this to run the country? If this breakdown mattered to you, like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell.